I just want to know, like, what was your plan? Like, okay, say one of you saved your friend. What are the other four of you gonna do now that you're out? It's just like, oh man, and
Oh
like,
God, that's so funny.
hello everyone, and welcome to the new year. I hope everyone had a great holiday season, and I'm excited to kick off 2018 with the third episode of the Dodgeball podcast featuring Paige Peterson out of Chicago. Here we go. Alrighty, so I'm here with Paige Peterson. Paige, thanks for giving me some of your time this evening. Looking forward to talking to you.
Happy to be here.
Awesome. Before I get into some kind of crazy lengthy intro, I'll just go ahead and let you do that part. So let's just start with what team you play for currently.
I am currently playing with Chicago Rogue. That's my open and pinch team. And then I'm playing, this is my first season with Ride or Die, and my first season with Havoc for Coed. So, two new teams. I'm looking forward to it.
Nice. So Ride or Die, is that Billy's team, Billy Schmidt?
The two?
What team is Ride or Die?
Ride or Die is the women's team from,
Oh, okay.
what was that? California. It's all the same to me.
Ride or Die. I don't know if I'm confusing that with another team name, like another new Coed team.
There's Heidi, there's Alyssa, Lisa, Duncan. I don't know. It's just a bunch of new players that I've known, but I've never played with them. So it's gonna be a brand new thing.
Nice. And that's going to be for the Elite season?
Yeah. So I'm gonna fly out for the West Coast Elites and play with them.
Nice. That's right. We talked about this earlier. We might get to face off against each other.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm so excited.
Are you going to Sin City? I don't know if we covered
Yeah.
that.
I'm really
sweet.
excited for that too. It's my first year.
Oh, crazy. So I'll see you in a couple days then. Great.
Yeah.
In all my glory of being slow and old and slowly getting back into the game.
How old are you? I don't even know.
34.
You're young. It's
So
fine.
they say. I appreciate that. Most people aren't so kind. It's the gray hair. Like, even when I was 20, I was still told I was the old man. But,
Silver Fox, right? That's what it's called.
yeah, silver fox or gray fox or age better with wine, something like that. So I'll take it. Whatever.
Yeah. Got it.
Okay, so Ride or Die is your women's team, and did you say Rogue was your co-ed team?
Rogue is my open and pinch team.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah, and then Havoc is my co-ed team.
So you're
Havoc
playing.
and Ride or Die are brand new for me.
So you're playing pinch. That's right, NCDA, right?
Yeah, that's how I started, but it's definitely not my favorite style anymore.
No, do you
No.
Do you just play because it's another division and you figure why not?
Yeah, I mean that's my team. The Chicago Rogue's my team, so if they're gonna play open and pinch, I'm gonna play open and pinch. You know.
That's
So I
awesome.
do. Yeah.
Yeah, I did that
Okay.
once. I was like, I guess my team's doing pinch, so I guess I'm doing pinch. And then afterwards, I was like, no, not again. I'm done with this. This is
Why does
there are
the
better
West
things to do
Coast
with my body.
hate it? I don't understand why you guys hate it so much.
Oh man, yes. I love these questions because I can put my theory into them, and I think the reason why the West Coast hates pinch now is because that was banned by the NDL. So, if I recall correctly, and I'm almost confident I am, but I'm sure people will correct me. Pinch came from LA. I know Tucson started pinching way back in the day, like back in 2004, 2005. You remember Mason, right? From
Yeah, I
Tucson.
remember.
So like he showed us how to pinch, and then ever since then we thought we had this crazy advantage over everyone else, and we're just going to go to the NDL and we're just going to roll people. And unfortunately, we couldn't get our young little fingers around those brand new slick balls, so it wasn't really that much of a factor. But once we started to play more with LA people, and we found out that they were pinching also, we realized it wasn't so much like a unique Tucson thing. And I think a lot of teams try to take that into the National Dodgeball League World Championships. And so I think it was like 2007, 2006 or 7, Ed banned pinching. And so it was kind of like a I was kind of like a villain for a little while. I told people back in Tucson, hey, you know what? We can't pinch in the NDL anymore, so no more pinching, period. It warps balls. It's not allowed. It's going to cripple us in our ability to be competitive, so we have to learn how to throw like regular people. And I think that kind of is what happened with the rest of the West Coast. So if I may be so bold to answer your question, I think that's why.
Just because it was not allowed.
Yeah, I mean, for us, we didn't have the crazy chain of NCDA organizations and the tournaments that you guys had. Our de facto competitive organization was the NDL. Like their word was law for the longest time, and so it didn't really do us any good to continue pinching for the tournaments that we really wanted to compete in. So I'm pretty sure that's at least like the turning point. Now I think it's like me, and the reason why I hate foam because it's just harder. Like people now, everyone can throw at me, and it's not like, you have to be like Justin Acton and you have to like be some kind of crazy airbender curving 8.5 balls at me to get a good shot. Yeah. It's now everybody can do that with foam. Like I guess it's like
people
a pride
do it with
thing.
Foam. You don't even need to do it with foam.
Yeah, like I don't even know what people do with foam balls now. Like they like teleport, or they do quantum leaps, or they just phase shift into like my leg from opposite directions. It's crazy, but like that's not as impressive as somebody doing that with an 8.5 ball. And so with pinch, I think it's like, are you cool and happy with the fact that you can throw as hard as you can normally, or do you have to like rely on some kind of, and forgive me, I don't want to say like a crutch, but like some kind of hack where you can manipulate the ball in such a way that it gives you extra power. But where I get shut up is when I watch pinch players play against other pinch players. That is so intense and so insane. And the plays that people do, like, I've seen one guy from the north, like, catch, I think 2 pinch throws at him, left and right, single-handedly. I was like, okay, cool. Well, that just nullifies all arguments about pinch requiring no skill at all, because that took so much skill. So,
and if you look at especially Dynasty, because I think all of them, they're all NCDA players, but when they play, it's like a totally different level. So
yeah, it's intense. I mean, it's like the hard hits that you, I guess, might have used to experience during 8.5. Like I don't want to say 8.5 has gotten softer. Heaven forbid Billy or Ketchum like throw at me now, and I take that back and I eat my words. But like, there's something about like the hits that pinch throws land that are just insanely impactful, and you get that oomph for that thud, or like that holy crap, I think that guy just got knocked out, or something like that. So do you pinch too, or do you play normally? Like I guess there's a lot of questions coming with that one. Let me slow down. Do you pinch first of all?
Yes, I do. I like pinching the ball. I think it's the only way that I can throw the 8.5 underhand, so it changes a little bit how the ball comes in. But I think for the most part, when we're up at the attack line, I'll throw overhand. So just depending on where we are in the game, I'll throw underhand or overhand. But I like pinch. I think it's kind of, it makes me throw harder than I would be able to just regular open, and that helps for sure. Because a lot of people, especially from the West Coast, don't have the kind of accuracy that you need. And when we pinch a lot in the North, we practice it. So we go to nationals, we play West Coast teams, and the West Coast players are throwing balls either straight down to the ground or 10 feet above our heads, and it definitely, it's a little bit different. It does require some skill, so I like pinch. It's terrifying sometimes, but I like pinch.
I think that might be another reason why, again, if you don't do it regularly, you're going to be opposed to it. You're going to want to be inside with the things that you're used to. So we played in that, it was like the Elite, what was it? It was a 2013 like California Open or something. It was a pinch elite tournament right after the West Coast series. And I was like, oh, pinching, whatever, I can do this. I just need a couple balls and I'll be good. No, like it was a diminishing skill. And, I would have a ball and I think I'm going to like just destroy somebody, and it lands, 4 feet in front of them or 10 feet over them. Like, well, this is dumb. Like, this isn't how I remember this. So
no, yeah, your fingers, if you don't do it a lot, your whole forearm, your fingers, you can't hold on to the ball. So it's nice to have 3 rounds where we practice pinching and then we go to nationals, and it's like, but it's the last thing we do, so our arms are shot anyways. Like this last one, I could barely squeeze the ball because it was my whole entire arm was just crapped
Done.
out from the rest of the entire weekend.
So would you say that when you play pinch, does that require like a different time frame of recovery, or is it just it's dodgeball? I'm gonna hurt regardless. Like, do you feel like it takes a
It's
different toll on your body?
Yeah, it's definitely a little bit different. I think you can get more torque with your arm, so I always get a little bit more sore in my elbow after pinch. And that's actually how I tore my labrum was playing pinch. So I'd say, yeah, it's a little bit different. So for
Yeah, that's
sure,
intense.
yeah. Um,
So that actually reminds me of something. So do you not to segue too much in or out of pinch, but what other sports do you play? 'Cause I remember like you play softball, correct?
yeah, I played for I think like 12 years of my life, 12 very long years, and that definitely helps with the throwing. And I pitched, I think, for maybe nine or 10 of those years.
Dang.
So that's how I know how to throw underhand, at least relatively well.
Yeah, I remember seeing that. So when I came back from my deployment, that's basically when I remember you just showing up. I was like, oh, there's a really aggressive, talented female playing. That's awesome. No
Was
idea
that
where
in
you came
Tucson?
from. Yeah, I was in Tucson. I was just like, oh, there's a page here. And then I was, I think I talked to you maybe, or I just found out like you're seasonal. So I was like, oh, that's a bummer because totally could have used you for like elite and all that other stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah, you just like appeared out of nowhere. So
It's kind of funny because I started playing NCDA and then I showed up at that open gym and you guys were all elite and I didn't know that elite was even a thing. So I think it was like 2 years later, it's when I started playing elite and I found out that I knew like you and Dylan and Chris Bell and who else played Stephanie Baxter, and I was like, oh my god, I know all these people already that I met 2 years ago at
that's weird.
Americana Open Gym.
That's
So
funny.
yeah, it's cool.
Trying to figure. So you yeah, that's right. Because you're from Tucson, but you went to school in Chicago, right?
Yeah,
And then you would just come during like Christmas break. So your time here would be really limited, and then you'd go
yeah.
off and do NCDA.
A couple weeks in the summer, a couple weeks over Christmas, and that was it.
Gotcha. Yeah, I remember watching you throw. I was like, yeah, she definitely probably still plays softball. That was insane. Like it's just like another. I don't know, something about softball. Like I once in high school I dated this girl that played softball. She was a great pitcher. She actually was Jenny Finch's rival, if you know that person. So she was really good. She stopped after high school, so I don't think she made it too far. But she used to practice and play with Jenny Finch, and that's why I know the name. But
That's all.
she would have me like try to catch for her, and it was just not hard. It was not easy to do. Like I was just like I could not figure out where the ball was going to come from, and
Yeah,
she pitched really fast. I was like, well, I'm kind of a coward, but whatever. Like, don't want to die. Don't want to get like sent to the hospital by my girlfriend. But it's just that's something I just could never get used to, and it's just funny watching somebody with softball experience who can actually grip a ball, who can actually rip them, and seeing people like get their legs tripped up or they have no idea it's coming. It's like it's a sick kind of satisfying thing to watch.
yeah. But the other sport, and I know it's really weird, but I don't. Do you know Jess Sexton? I think she moved to Florida semi recently.
I do not know.
Well, I talked to her. I think it was like 2 years ago at Kelly's San Diego tournament, and she's a goalie, a soccer goalie, or that was her background. And the girl catches everything, and
Hmm.
she can throw too. So I mean, that was something I wouldn't expect because soccer you don't do a whole lot of throwing, but I mean, she's just athletic. So
Yeah,
I was unexpected for me.
you're athletic and you kind of I guess trained to attack the ball. Like you don't want it to go past you. So maybe that kind of takes away the fear, that flight or flight type of deal.
I think I threw one ball at her, and she like dove sideways onto the court, rolled over the ball, and caught it. I was like, "What the?
What?
Kidding me?"
It's like you just got dumped on. Thanks.
You shouldn't do that. Like she did everything wrong that you're supposed to do. She reached, she dove in front of a ball, and she still caught it. And that's how we became friends.
Nice. Yeah, I guess what else can you do at that point? Like, I guess we should be friends now. That was insane.
I
You
know,
shouldn't do that,
like
but
you can't beat
cool.
them, join them. Yeah.
funny. Any other sports that you played growing up that might have helped, or just in general?
Really just softball. I mean, I played a little bit of basketball, but I couldn't make a layup, so I quit.
Gotcha. Yeah,
Uh,
basketball's
yeah.
rough.
I was getting nervous, like shooting at the last second, and then I would just like throw it really weird, so I stopped that as soon as possible. Uh, yeah, no, pretty much just softball, and you train every day, so I feel like you get enough work in.
Gotcha. What? So you got your start then with NCDA,
Yeah,
and what drew you to that? Like how did you first start playing dodgeball?
I was running around the track for some reason because I hate running, and I looked down and they were just playing dodgeball, and I was like, well, that looks a lot more fun than what I'm doing. So I just went downstairs and asked if I could play, and they said sure. So that's how I like a stupid start to NCDA, but that's how I started playing. And I was playing softball at DePaul at the time, so I couldn't go to any of the tournaments, but I could make the one like MSU Michigan tournament in the fall. So that was the one tournament I got to go to. And I don't know, I loved it. It was a lot of fun. It was a great stress relief. Just getting to throw things at people. That's how I got started.
That's pretty cool. So just some random, just gonna run today, and hey, they're playing dodgeball. I want to go check this out, type deal.
Yeah, it was the best decision ever. I don't regret it at all.
That's the thing is like you can pinpoint to that one decision, and you look at everything that's come as a result, all the people you've met, all the experiences you've had, and you're like, wow, if I
Yeah.
didn't have the inclination to go play that day, who knows what my life would be like now? Or that's always something I love to ask about people is like, what was that one like deciding factor where you like said, yes, throwing dodgeballs or throwing balls at people sounds like a fun thing to do. I'm down. Sign me up. It's such
It's better
a
than throwing like chairs or
yeah. I guess
rock.
other ways to deal with anger management.
Mm. Still have that, so.
The it's not, I don't want to say it's funny, but it's just really cool how much how far competitive dodgeball has come in its own right, but also with women players. Like back in the day, and I should probably watch how often I say this, but you would be so hard pressed to find somebody like you who is not only down to play dodgeball, but is like down to play open and pinch. Because like we used to have to drag people, and if you had one competitive female player, you were wealthy. If you had two, you were just like, my goodness, because it was just so hard to get people to play. Did you, when you started, was there a lot of already competitive female players, or were you kind of one of the pioneers, I guess?
Well,
Would you
definitely
say?
not one of the pioneers. I'd say Kat Takeda is probably the one that just kind of paved the road for a lot of women. She'd already graduated from DePaul by the time I started playing, but she'd come back for guest nights, and like I've looked up to her for so long just because she's always the girl that has played with the boys all the time. She's always the one that's throwing hard. She's making catches. She's doing everything that anyone else can do. So and I mean, she's awesome too. So, love Kat. I love you, Kat. But she's definitely the one that kind of set the standard for women in the North. And so after her, I think it's been me. It's been Rebecca Chappell playing consistently NCDA, and she also plays open and pinch. And I think that they're the only two that consistently play open and pinch right now.
Yeah, I saw that.
Years.
Kat was ranked number 2 in the Dodgeball Tribune's top 20 players, top 10.
10. We don't have 20.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't surprised with that. I mean, I try to remember. I always like knew of Kat, and then I remembered in the first Elite Nationals. I just remember Brett throwing at her, and she jumped and caught it.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, that seems like the thing she would do, because I'm trying to place her like in my memory at that time. And then lo and behold, Brett does it again, and then she gets caught, And I don't know if I said this out loud, but I was like, you should probably stop doing that. Like, that's not somebody that you can just do that to without paying the price. And like, it's just awesome how it goes from like maybe one or two females that we can catch everything to like, that's almost like the standard. So we're going to line up, we're going to get as many people as we can to throw out this person, but one of us is probably going down. So let's at least make sure that A, they're not bringing in some monster that's going to wreck us like Payan, and B, let's make sure that we actually get this person out. Otherwise, it's just going to be a hard day for us. And it's just...
Well, it's the same thing with West Coast, specifically, the players I'm specifically thinking of are Angelique, Brianna, and Rolina. The three people that, like, I will not throw at alone ever, no matter what situation I'm in. And if I do, I'm going to throw about 5 feet wide, because I know that if it's anywhere near them, they'll catch it. So those are the three players that, like, I think they deserve the most respect in the West for catching, hands down.
Yeah, I hate that feeling. You're just like, there's just like no real way I can come out of this cleanly. Like, I might get lucky, but
no.
And
like every highlight video that I've seen of like when Leek and Rolina are on the court together and they both make catches at the same time, and there's so many videos of those. It's like, I don't know why people keep throwing at them. I think it's just stupidity at this point. Just stop throwing at them.
A little bit of pity and pride and just some kind of vengeance, or, oh yeah, I forgot. In the heat of the moment, I should not be doing this sort of thing. That's usually my excuse, is like, oh yeah, I didn't learn the first 30 times. I should probably not do that again. I'm going to, but I really probably shouldn't.
Yeah.
So. I saw the sickest catch from Kate Gong during the LA Classic tournament. She was playing on a team with I think maybe Payan, but I know Catchin was next. So like, it was one of those where it's Kate against Vince's team, whoever that was. So it was like a high stakes game, and I think it was even the championship. And she caught a no-sting ball like with her two hands, like at her forehead. Like it didn't touch her forehead. She just like completely stopped it. And it was like, I want to say Vince was the one that threw it. It was a hard throw. It was not like a simple lob or an afterthought. It was, I want to hit Kate really hard so she drops this, or I want to go through her hands. And she just said, no, not only is that not going to happen, but I'm also going to bring Ketchum in, who's going to be so amped up at this point, he's going to take out the rest of the team. And that's exactly how it played out. And it was the sickest catch I've ever seen.
That's amazing.
It's has nothing to do with the fact that it was like no sting or fun. It was just pure intent. Catch this ball, bring in the winning plays, and I was just like, I never want to be in that situation where I have to throw against Kate Gong now, because there's just nothing I could do.
And no sting balls are hard to catch too. They just bounce out of your hands. That's impressive.
Like it'd be impressive on any kind of ball. Just the fact that she just plucked that thing, just stopped it. Like, I think like the whole room kind of went silent for a second, and just that collective like, and then just Ketchum comes in, lights everybody up. It's a done deal, and it was just so cool. And I hope that's on video somewhere. It has to be. It was like,
gotta be. I've seen a lot of those live videos from the Classic.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? Like, we can watch live stream videos now. Like, talk about, again, the evolution of dodgeball. Like, now if you can't make an event, or you want to see how another region's doing, somebody's live streaming that for you. That's so cool. Yeah,
I was definitely watching that as much as I could. It's fun.
Yeah, I remember being so jealous of the NCDA, because they actually had I think like Fox Sports Network out there televising a couple games, and this is like back in 2005, 6, 7-ish, around that time frame. I was like, man, these guys really have their thing together.
I think it was at round 2 in Chicago this last year. It was Mad City came, and I don't know if you got to see any of that, but the live stream was amazing. They were commentators. It was just like wait, was that what we had for Nationals too? Was that Mad City?
Was it this past one? Because I wasn't there.
Okay, yeah. Well, it might have been that. But it was like the same exact thing. There were commentators. There were different angles for the cameras. It was fantastic.
That's so cool.
So, yeah.
Mad City? Is that a network, or what's Mad City?
You know what? I'm not sure, but I think they're on Facebook. I'm not that knowledgeable about this topic. I just know that it was really cool.
Well, hopefully that continues, because that would that's just another thing to show people. Like, you you get the typical, oh, you play dodgeball just like the movie, haha, whatever, and then you show them like clips of actual like elite footage, and they're just like, holy crap, that's scary looking, that's intense. Like
I
more
was
people need to
watching
see that.
things like the top 20 plays from the UDC tournament today. It's unreal. I don't know if you saw that, but it's pretty cool.
I haven't checked that out yet. I can't wrap my head around UDC. Like I like the ground too much right now. I want to be able to jump and make sure that my knee's going to be where it's supposed to.
Yeah, I agree.
But I definitely kind of, part of me wants to get into it just while I can, just because it just seems like it's like foam. Like you can have your objections to it, but at the end of the day, it still kind of makes you a better player. Same thing with no sting. Same thing probably with pinching. But trampoline, I mean.
But you'll never admit it. Got it.
It's one of those things where it's like, yeah, it's such a, what do you call it, a bias that I have. I'll work on that.
It's okay.
Do you play trampoline or do you do the UDC?
You know, I like the ground a lot too. I couldn't make the tournament this year. I was out of town, so I was really bummed about that. Otherwise, I probably would have tried to find a team just to play, but I knew I wasn't going to be there. So, but I don't know. I think the trampoline's also not really my style. I'd rather have my feet on the ground.
Yeah, for me, it's like some of these guys are already hard enough to hit. And so if I throw and they jump up and bust out with like a triple axel and still catch the ball, it's like, all right, I'm going home. Forget this. Like, no thanks.
I think one of my weaknesses in playing, when I did play trampoline, was I like tried to stay on the trampoline too much, and like you're supposed to, jump, and I would
supposed to move.
I would try. Yeah, I would play like I played on a hard court, and then, it's not a hard court, so it didn't work out well. But it's just improvements to make.
So that gets me a good question. What is I guess what is your favorite way to play dodgeball? Like your favorite format, favorite ball, preferred court, I guess? Like do you have a preference?
I mean, elite rules. I love elite rules. So definitely those. I used to hate no sting. No sting has been growing on me. And I used to hate foam, but foam is growing on me too. I just like the smaller ball. So those are probably my favorite two styles. But I honestly don't know which one I like more.
I don't know if I covered this, but what is about foam that you used to hate?
Because I used to play with the 8.25 inch ones, and I can't get any movement on those. I can't do anything with them, so they just float in. But since starting playing with the 7-inch, we go to Canada for their 2v2 tournaments, and I think that was the first time I played with the 7-inch foam, and it's a blast. Like you can throw overhand, underhand. You can actually hold on to the ball. It's not like an 8.5 where you pump fake and it just slips out of your hand. So I really like the foam. And it's also less taxing on your fingers. So I've come to really enjoy that.
Yeah, it's we're kind of at almost like a dry spell here in Arizona, but foam is basically the next option right now before the no sting season starts. So it's like, no, if you want to play dodgeball, it's foam or nothing. And so, I'd rather play foam than nothing. And slowly just understanding, accepting it's just a different type of flow. It's a different type of all kinds of different dynamics. Like it's just something to get used to. And like I said earlier, it just makes you better. Did you have similar reservations with no sting?
I think no sting, I hated it just because it was so bouncy that it didn't matter, at least for the first year that I played no sting, it didn't matter how well set up you were to catch a ball, it would just bounce off you immediately. And I hated that. So I didn't have any catches, but after a while I started to kind of get the hang of it. And now, I mean, it's still hard to catch because it's just bounces off you still, but it's easier than it was.
Yeah, it's like different timing, different mechanics in either trapping the ball or pulling it in when you catch it.
Yeah.
That's another reason why I was so impressed with Kate Gong's catch. Like it's just there was one way to do it, and she did it. And
Yeah,
it was
you have
just
to have
insane.
perfect timing for that kind of catch.
Yeah, and the reflexes with that, I would love to like when I want to tell people about how crazy dodgeball is and the kind of skill that's required. I would love to show a video of that. Like, look, this person had maybe like half a second to make a decision, and her body,
Less than
yeah, less than that,
less.
and her body reacted the way it was supposed to. Her eyes actually picked up the ball, and then boom, just she knew what she had to do, and she did it. Like how I don't know how much more athletic you can be with this game sometimes. Yeah. Well, that'll be fun seeing how House and City treats you because it's so funny when we do no sting all day, and then we transition to rubber, and it's like you just kind of have to learn how to play dodgeball again for a couple of games. You just like, well, everything's slower now, everything's different. I forgot like how to play rubber for a second, and you just see people miss these like super easy catches and make these awful throws, and it's just a hilarious good time.
That's exactly what happens in the San Diego Classic, the women's tournament that Kelly runs, because we start with foam and then we go to no sting. And those two are pretty similar. They're not interchangeable, but they're pretty easy to transition into. And the last one we do is 8.5. So, like, after you see foam and no sting just flying at you, the 8.5, it's like a beach ball coming in. So it's just a catching game at that point. And it doesn't matter how many arms you have on your team, just the difference in between the no sting and the 8.5 is, God, it's so easy to catch. So I hate that transition, but I know what to expect. So
Nice. Yeah, I laugh at that transition. It's just funny. And then because you know better, like instinctively you do everything you're supposed to or everything that you've been doing for the past couple hours, and then you're like, okay, I know rubber is going to come slower, and I know that the catching is going to be a little bit different, but still sometimes it takes just a little bit more to get used to that. Is it the same with pinch and going from like regular 8.5 to pinch?
it is the opposite of going to pinch because pinch is just, it's faster. So it's, you're going from something it's open, it's fast, but it's not pinch fast. So going from open to pinch is like way harder than going from no sting to 8.5, I think, personally.
I can't remember the last time I played pinch. It was like everything was fast forwarded. That's a good way to put it. Just
But yeah,
like, yeah, I think I can hang, and all of a sudden just seeing balls like somehow accelerate as they're flying towards me is like, oh wow, this is madness. This is crazy.
I hate the
What am I
ones
doing
that
here?
start looking like they're going to go over your head and then dip down right into your face. I hate those ones.
Yeah, those are fun.
They're a blast.
So so when did you start playing NCDA?
I started in, I want to say, October of 2012,
October 2012.
but I didn't start playing Elite until like June of 2015. It's been about, yeah. Yeah.
What 'cause I'm also trying to get, so with previous episodes, I'm trying to get an idea of just like different regions and different like origins of when leagues started to show up. Are there other leagues in Chicago, or is NCDA basically the main show right now?
So NCDA, I'd say the only NCDA we have in Chicago is at DePaul, but it's definitely more of a Michigan, Ohio uh, sort of thing. It's not exactly in Chicago. The Chicago leagues that we have, it's CDP, which is a no sting league, and it's more of a social league. It's less of a, I don't want to say it's not competitive because people get really into it, but it's more for fun than it is for, it's less elite like than, I don't know if I'm explaining this correctly. Or if you
So
get
it's like a recreational league, pretty much.
Yeah, it's more recreational, but a lot of elite players go. They just mix in with other players that want to have fun for fun. Wow, that was a great story.
I'll probably outdo you on that one, so don't worry about it.
I don't care. It's funny.
What I'll do is I'll just like loop that over and over again, and that'll be the hour-long podcast. It's just that.
Edit that out.
That's pretty much how it is with. I mean, Tucson Dodgeball was set up like that. You know, we had try to make it so like no more than 2 elite players per rec team, because most of these people are here to have fun, play, and that's it. They're not really that interested in going to elite, but we also didn't want to leave out the elite guys. So
Yeah.
it sounds about
That's the same way it is. Like they just don't want stacked teams, but
yeah,
there's
exactly.
always one team that wins it. So
Gotcha.
rules eyes.
And so what got you into elite? Was it just something you wanted to be a part of? Because you said 2015 is when you started getting involved.
Yeah, I just liked it a lot, and I liked the people the most. So I played in like a it's called Players Sport and Social. I don't think they have it in California or in the West Coast, or I don't know if it's just a Chicago thing, but it's just they have every kind of sport. They have basketball, volleyball, kickball, all these sports, and they had a volleyball one. So I signed up with a couple elite players, and I just had such a good time that I wanted to keep playing. And elite was what was available because it's either NCDA, which I'm not in college anymore, or it's CDP, which is once a week, or it's elite, where you get to travel and be competitive. And I wanted to be competitive, so I just kept playing in the elite rounds, and then joined Rogue. We were called DWO at the time.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, so that was that old crew, and then we just changed our name to Rogue, and that's where I am now.
Gotcha. And was there like a push for you to play in elite prior to that, or was it just kind of one of those things where you just came to it on your own?
I think the summer before that, I played in an elite tournament with like the DePaul NCDA team, but I had no idea what elite was. They're just like, hey, you want to play in this tournament? And I said, sure. And ended up going, and I had zero idea what elite rules were. And there like, oh, it's elite rules. I don't know what that means. And I ended up stepping out of bounds like 6 times. I had no idea, and I didn't know it was a competitive thing. I didn't know anything about it. So it took me a year after that to actually understand you don't step out the back like an idiot. Yeah. So it took a while.
Shouldn't be up on yourself too much about boundaries. We when I did Tucson Dodgeball, we used to do these fraternity tournaments for sororities. Like sororities would be hosting a charity, and all the frats would be playing against each other, which is already, you're just asking for like the best of society has to offer, with a bunch of drunk 18, 19, 20-year-old testosterone-ridden dudes.
I was hoping you were kidding.
Oh yeah, no, I'm being so sarcastic. And
thank God.
yeah, right. And just watching them, like we saw this one, I'll never forget it. This one instance where the whole team is playing, right? One guy throws a ball at this team, pops the dude up, hits a guy in the chest, pops up, and the entire team runs out of bounds to catch that one ball. So they're all done. Like this one kid had this magical play where he took out an entire team by himself with one throw, and like in any other like sanctioned dodgeball event, that would be legendary, right? Like how would you even think to make that happen? But somehow this team figured out like their best course of action was to all run for the ball out of bounds. And so like I was trying to explain to them why they were out, why they lost, why they were kicked, why they're removed from the tournament after that.
That's not going to
really
be fun.
Really funny, but it wasn't fun at the time because they just could not comprehend how to stay in bounds. And this is after you had people like Stephanie who were like physically pushing people back in bounds to let them know, hey, there's a line here. And I just want to know, like, what was your plan? Like, okay, say one of you saved your friend. What are the other 4 of you going to do now that you're out? It's just like, oh man, it was just insane. And like,
God, it's so funny.
I think it was one of those moments where I was just like completely just dumbfounded and speechless because I was reffing the center line, and I was just like, what just happened? Like, I want to talk to them now and understand what happened. But holy man, that was yeah, you shouldn't get on yourself about boundaries. Like, some people don't have them, some people use a wall. So you have situations like Americana where, you know, it's like a hockey rink / with AstroTurf. But yeah, if you ever feel bad for stepping out of bounds, just think about that story and you should be fine.
Well,
That is ridiculous.
yeah, that's
Um,
pretty good. That's really bad, actually. I don't know. I feel like that was the hardest part, I think, of transitioning from NCDA to Elite rules was, I mean, the NCDA court is huge. So when you go to the Elite court, it's like you think you have 5 more feet of room, but you don't, and you can't put any limb out of bounds. So it's like I had so many where I was just like, oh, I have so much room to move back, and then I look down and the line's 2 feet in front of me.
you're like, oh no, I don't. I'm actually out now.
Like, oh, like I guess I have to go out. This sucks. So that happened a lot. The first, I don't know, I would say 2 or 3 rounds for me. I'm a slow learner, apparently.
Yeah, I guess that's fair because like you have an entire basketball court, don't you, for NCDA?
Yeah, yeah, the entire court. So I just and like you can put 1 foot out of if you have something in bounds, the rest of you can be out of bounds. So even if you
That's
step
interesting.
out, you're still in. You still have a foot in. So it's like it's just at least when I was playing. I don't know if they've changed the rules since then, but and also dirty blocking. At the beginning, you could, and I think they've changed that rule. It has to be clean blocking now in NCDA. But at the beginning, it was all dirty blocking, and going from that to Elite, where everything is clean, was really difficult too. Because I would block it into myself, and they'd call me out, and I was like, no, 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 it hit the ball, and then I would, my mind would catch up to my temper, and I would realize that wasn't the
It's like,
case
no,
anymore.
that's a different change of rules here.
Yeah.
That could explain some things because I remember, and this is like one of the many tournaments back in the day. This one guy, like, I guess it's what you mean by clean blocking is I can't block it into myself. That's what that
Yeah.
means.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
I think so.
he blocked it into his shin, and then he's out, right? And so he's arguing with the refs. He's like, no, I blocked it, and it hit my shin. And we're like, yeah, that's exactly why you're out, dude. Like, bye. Like
Yeah.
he just couldn't understand. And I guess you kind of forget that like some people are just gonna have again going back to that like those bias and those tendencies. So like it's really hard to kind of reprogram your mind when you're in the middle of a game and you're used to an entire basketball court. Apparently, you can have like one part of your body in bounds and the rest of you can be out of bounds.
Yeah. It was very, very different. A lot slower. The games took forever.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of how that the clip I'm talking about, I think it's 2007. They were commentating, and I was like, wow, this game is going just slow enough to actually be somewhat actionable, but it's also these people are able to commentate. They're telling me who these players are, so I'm kind of slowly starting to get invested in who they are. Versus, no offense to Elite, but like you're watching an Elite game, it's over in like 45 seconds.
Oh
It's
yeah, but I
really
mean, it's so much better as a player though, because you're not sitting out on the sidelines for an hour waiting for a new game.
that's
I
true.
mean, I remember like you'd get out, and if there were a couple people in front of you, you were like, well, I'm probably not going to get back in.
It's like I'm coming in never.
You just wait 20 minutes for the game to be over, and then you get to play again. And I hated that. So I very, very strongly support Elite. Love it.
Gotcha. And then with NCDA, how many players were on a court too? There's because like 13 or 14. There's a lot, aren't there?
Yeah, it was a lot. It was too many. I think it was like 15 maybe. Seemed like a lot, but I don't remember the exact number.
Well, definitely gotta chalk it up to Elite. I mean, they figured out what works for the player really well, and
Mm-hmm.
just one of those things that just continues to be refined and gets better as it goes. So it's pretty exciting to see like what this next year will bring. I'm excited because I actually get to go to all of them. This is a first that hasn't happened to me at all ever. So
That'll be
I'm looking forward to that. One thing I wanted to ask was Paige versus the Curtain. Do you remember that?
Oh,
Sorry.
what do you want to ask?
What are your thoughts? I could run it down as I remember it, as I've seen it, or you can just let us know like what happened between you and the
All right.
Curtain.
I've explained this before. I guess I'll do it again. So we were playing this team. and I was in the middle of my throwing motion, and I knew I shouldn't throw this ball as I was throwing, but I was already like committed to the throw. So instead of just, stopping, I threw a catch, and like the entire time I knew it was, it wasn't the right moment and whatever, but I still did it because for whatever reason.
This instinct.
Yeah, he caught it as I knew he would, and I hate getting caught on the court, especially when I'm playing on a men's team or in an open or co-ed, mostly for the reason that, and this might, I don't know, maybe you will understand this, but as a woman, if you get caught in an open or a pinch or a co-ed, you kind of got caught because you're a girl. You didn't get caught because it was a good catch. And that's kind of the vibe that you get from players. It's like, oh, she's, she got caught because, it wasn't a good throw, not because it was a good catch. And so that's why I hate getting caught. So I was just really mad, and I had to hit something because that's what I do. And there was a curtain. I was like, oh, it's a soft curtain that won't hurt me. So I went over to punch it, but, right behind the curtain, the ground dipped down and away. So I had nothing to land on. And I just fell down. So I had to get back up and put the curtain back in its place.
There's just so much to love about that clip or that GIF, whatever it has become, that you recover, and then you set it right, and then you tell somebody, hold on, I'm gonna punch this curtain still. Like I've got business I gotta finish right now. And I forgot who it was, but you just no, I'm not, you just hold on. And then you just this is when I realized you don't mess with Paige, because your punch just looked just completely just perfect, just in line, and you had the torque, you had everything just looked right. I was like, she'd probably knock somebody out. So I'm going to take one from the curtain, and yeah, as long as you're not a curtain, you're probably going to die. So it was A, hilarious, but it was also B, just a good warning never to get on your bad side. So noted, unless I, again, can draw upon the ally of a curtain, then I'll be okay. But I was just, I remember you definitely kind of get hard on yourself, just playing open a few times with you. Like if you get caught out or you get hit, you're like, oh, dang it. And you just, well, you're not saying dang it. You're just, colorful language as you're walking to the queue. So I knew you had some kind of you must have done something that upset you. And so that makes sense.
Most of that is in just good fun. I think it's kind of funny when we play, when I play with my friends, they all know that's kind of my personality. And then when I play with people that I don't know, and they don't know that that's my way of just having fun with them, they get mad at me. It's always fun the first couple times, and then they're like, oh, you're actually not a raging beehole. Little do they know, though. So yeah, so it's always fun, but it's also really stinky the first couple times.
Yeah, I just the first one was like, oh wow, she's really taking this kind of hard, and then I was like, is she okay? Do I need to have a little timeout intervention? Be like, hey, I think you need to just take a glass of water and just calm down and watch the kids play soccer or something. And then I realized okay, she's not.
And that made it so much worse.
Yeah. Again, this is all from a distance. I'm not going to approach this person. Mason, little help. You take the fall for this one.
No, it's just in good fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it is extremely irritating when you get caught and you're playing with the guys, especially in co-ed, because then they're like, oh no, girl, don't throw anymore. Give me your balls. And it's like, I don't want to. Or they tell you to hold. And a lot of co-ed teams they always tell you to hold, and it's so irritating when the boys tell you to hold, and then they leave the girls in to be the last one, and then they're like, oh yeah, get a catch, save the game.
Yeah, when you don't look at that, they look at you like, why didn't you do your job?
Yeah. So I absolutely hate throwing catches, because I don't want to be seen as a last in, just catch. I want to be an active offensive player as well. So that's why I get like pissed off when I throw catches. So.
That's fair. So I heard something, kind of a good segue. I heard something really interesting during the LA Classic, and I don't know what team it was. I'm not sure who it is. I could probably point it out to you if it really mattered, but definitely one of the tougher females out there who makes catches, makes plays, is a solid player, just because I know of this person, right? And her team was losing, or they had just lost, and she yelled out, "Protect the men." And I thought that was like a really interesting thing to hear, because it wasn't don't throw. It wasn't like your typical what you expect from a female player. It was protect the men. So it's like, in addition to making that last minute clutch catch when you're the only person left, in addition to being a ball retriever, now you're like a meat shield. And I'm not really sure like if that's cool or if that's like a slight. And the reason why I thought it was neat is because where else do like females take it upon themselves to protect another player? Like that was, I don't know, it was like an interesting thing that I had heard, and like that she felt like that was her role.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on that?
I definitely agree. Like I'm not going to compete with Payan. I know that. I'm not going to compete with Nate or Vince, and I know that. And so if that's the case, like yeah, I would gladly take an out to keep them in to win the game. I mean that's part of playing as a team. But I think that until you get to that point, you need to actually play as a team. And how do I explain this? I would want those 3 players in before me. I would want a lot of players in before me. But if you use your females' arms, if you use them up at the line, because I know the other thing, I see a lot of co-ed teams, guys will take 2 balls and they'll go up to the front line and they'll throw one, and then no one will have another ball to even pump fake or even just make an attempt to distract the other team, and then the guy gets hit with the ball. And I've seen this happen so many times, and it's just these guys that are so ball hungry that they don't give the girl the ball who can throw just fine, and they go and they take 2 up to the line. And that's right. I think that's what irritates me. Because those are the teams that the girl gets left in the last to get hit. I don't know.
Yeah, and they're staring down Payan and Nate Crater and everybody like, cool, like I'll definitely catch one of these, of course.
This is great. Yeah, throw it.
This is where I want to be.
Can I just step out the back? Is that cool? Got you guys.
Yeah, heaven forbid they do that. Well, the reason why I bring that up is because, so for me, there's been, maybe it's a Tucson thing, maybe it's a former evil thing, but like our girls have always been the offensive nature, and so it just makes sense. Like most people aren't expecting you to line up with a female player and have that person be the main thrower, let alone throw with you. And all you have to do is just adjust your timing. So like you can be watching me all day, but if you don't watch Stephanie coming in from the right or whoever else is playing, sucks to be you. Because we had Jackie playing, and she had a pretty crazy arm. And I think she kind of, yeah, and I think she kind of helped shape that mentality for me. Is like, this girl can throw like harder than most guys I know. So you are absolutely going to throw with us. Like you're not supposed to fetch balls or anything like that.
Yeah.
But when I would throw, and I would be retreating back, and then, Vince or somebody might be running me down, but then, out steps in front of me, Stephanie or somebody else. And that's what I thought she meant by protect the men, because it's not so much being a meat shield. It's just, if I'm running down, I don't know, say catch him, I'm like, yes, I have a chance to get him. I got to take him out. And freaking Kate Gong gets in front of them, I'm going to rethink my strategy. I'm like, maybe not. Like,
yeah, and that I can understand. Like, protect the men, but it's hard to protect somebody by being a meat shield, like you said. It's almost, it's just kind of saying like, here, take my out instead, which I get, but I think it's more practical, and it's a better strategy to have another ball given so you can actually, be a threat instead of be a target. And I
Yep.
think that's what I think that's what I mean. I guess that's the way we put it, like be a threat rather than be a target. Like you said, if you saw Kate Gong there, you'd be like, oh, screw that. Like I'm gonna take a second, reset, and then go back up instead of seeing her step out in front of Ketchum, and you're probably closer to her anyway. He's probably going to be like 15 feet away, and you might be able to light her up that way.
Right.
So I don't know. I guess that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. So earlier when I said like I thought it was kind of cool, what I meant was like, again, this is coming from back in the day where it's your timid, scared girlfriend that's playing. It's usually the guys that are trying to be, I'll protect you. You don't have to worry about it. It's just dodgeball. Whereas now it's like, no, some of these girls are legit going to protect their teammate. It's not even a matter of gender or sex. It's, no, this is what I can contribute because I can block really well or I can catch really well.
Yeah.
And so I thought like that's kind of how it struck me. It wasn't so much, and maybe saying meat shield was the wrong word. Stalwart shield might have been the better term. Because Stephanie has definitely done this for Brett a lot. And it's really aggravating because when we play in our social league, Brett will throw, he'll pick off some of my guys. I might have a chance to run him down. And then lo and behold, here comes Stephanie. I'm like, dang it. Like, stop hiding behind Stephanie, Brett. Like, fight your own battles. But it's just cool because again, coming from how it's developed from girls turning their backs, girls not wanting to play, girls giving up halfway through the tournament. It's like most girls they know what their role is. Some people can throw really well. Some can catch phenomenally. Some are great blockers. You have girls like Sarah Slaybaugh who are really good at keeping the team organized and are good play callers, good strategists. It's cool to see that, and that's kind of where I was going basically with that comment.
I think the role of a player changes from player to player too, and I mean just because, like, okay, for example, so on my open team, I play corner, and I've told the guys, I was like, listen, if you want this ball, just take it because I know that overall my throw is not as strong as your guys. But I still play corner because I tend to not make stupid throws, and I can counter relatively well. So it's sort of, I mean, it just depends on the player. And Marcus on my team, I don't know if you're Marcus, but he can catch really well, and so can Ben. And Tyler can catch really well too. Tyler can throw and he can catch, so he's in the middle for the most part. Eddie can also catch really well, so he's in the middle on the other side. But it's just depending on like what each personal strength is. And I think that goes for the guys as well as the girls. So it's not so much of like a girls know their role. It's kind of a, what kind of player is this girl? Is this girl an arm? Is this girl a catcher? Can this girl do both? Does she block? Does she go up to the line and pump fake and then retreat and pump fake again to get people on the other side back? It just depends on the kind of player someone is, not what their gender is, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's well put, and that's no different than a male player because you have your arms, you have your catchers, you have your.
Or on Booch, like Derek Johnson catches and throws, but he's in the middle a lot of the time because people don't want to throw at him, so
he can get away with it.
Yeah, you can get away with it. I don't know. It's just different. Yeah,
that's one of the. I feel like that's one of dodgeball's greatest strengths is men and women can play alongside each other. Each have equal stake in the outcome of the game. Each contributes as much as the next person, and I don't really, maybe I'm just not familiar with other co-ed sports, but for me it just seems like that is one where you don't have to, I don't want to say bend the rules or manipulate them in certain ways. Because like when we would play certain sports in school, if you're playing a co-ed, if a girl scores, that's like worth 2 points, or there's always some kind of like.
Yeah, let's do that. Every time a girl in co-ed gets a guy out, there's 2 players out.
Oh, let's definitely not do that.
Let's do that, yeah.
That will not go well. Yeah, there's always been some kind of like way to, I want to say augment the sport a little bit, but just make it seem more, so that would be more inclusive. So there would be more reason to include the female players, but I don't really see that happening with dodgeball anymore.
Well, it's like trying to use 2 different ball sizes. So there'll be like the stingers that girls can throw, and then the bigger balls that the guys can throw. So I've seen that, but it never pans out how it's supposed to. No.
Yeah, I just think, again, coming from back in the day to where we are now to where we'll be 5 years from now, I don't even think stuff like that will even be an issue.
No.
I think the girls that are coming out now are just as dangerous. I mean, crap, you play pinch, like that's insane. I won't even do that. So that's
We were there was a post in like the Women of Dodgeball group, and it was really interesting, and I forget who it was from, but um, it was basically talking about whether co-ed is actually a good thing for women's sports. And the rationale behind it was that every professional sport, like basketball, there's a men's and there's a women's. Soccer, there's a men's and there's a women's. Baseball and softball, it's separate. It's not co-ed. So the question was, is co-ed dodgeball really a good thing to promote women in dodgeball? And I was intrigued by that because I enjoy playing co-ed, but it makes you wonder if, because all these issues that we're talking about in co-ed, and are women really kind of, are they meat shields, or are they arms, are they active parts of the team? And like it's an interesting discussion to have with different people, I guess. I
yeah.
don't know.
I don't know. Maybe you just look at, excuse me. Maybe just like look at the co-ed team. Now, is this co-ed team winning because they know how to utilize every player, or are they winning because they're relying on the talents of one or two people? And it's kind of like the same thing with like an open men's division. Are they winning because some dude can throw 80 miles an hour, or are they utilizing all talents of the six people playing? So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's it's definitely interesting. I wasn't really planning on spending too much time with that, but there was a couple things that
Just
I
something
think
to
you'd
think
mentioned
about.
that, yeah, you just kind of brought it up, and it's one of those things that kind of just stays in the back of my mind, just because, again, comparing the good old days versus now, and just seeing, where it's going to go down the road. So,
Yeah.
good stuff.
Yeah.
So the only other question I have, and I usually like to end conversations with this one. Actually, nope, I lied. Just kidding. I was reading your profile on the top 10 women, and there's something mentioned about being able to block with one hand. Can you
I
elaborate
think
on that a little bit?
I think that's pinch, because I can't block open with an 8.5. I cannot do that.
Yeah, it says, and not to totally put you on the spot here, but it's rare to see a woman player that can block a top player's throw with only one hand on the 8.5 inch.
It's got to be pinch,
Still,
because
though,
like I can't do it just straight up open.
that is beastly still. But you're saying like chances are that was like a pinched throw already. So, yes, you may have, like, the grip might have helped, but still, I can't imagine what the impact of that would be like. But that's still no small feat. Mostly just wanted to comment on that. That's pretty cool. Do you remember that play at all, or what that was referencing?
No, we play a lot of pinch, so nothing really stands out like that. But I mean, it was probably just a block, like a regular block with another ball in my hand.
Just another day, another block kind of thing.
Another block, yeah.
Gotcha.
One of those. But, yeah. No.
Cool. Yeah, I just wanted to comment on that real quick. And then, okay, so the question I did want to end up with is, what is your current favorite dodgeball memory to date?
My
Like, do you have a
current
favorite
dodgeball memory.
tournament or event, or just the thing that stands out the most?
You couldn't give me a heads up for this?
I thought I did.
Not for this question. Okay.
I mean, there's no wrong or right answer. Just like the first thing that comes to mind, and you can totally
You know
change it.
what?
I mean,
Um,
down the road.
I absolutely loved playing with it was Invasion and Pop That, like the mix up at Bell's this year, because we had like Team USA was playing as Team USA, and so it was kind of like we called ourselves the leftovers of Pop That and Invasion, and then I got to play with them,
Nice.
and just getting to play with like these other women that I've never played with them. I've only been on the opposite side of the court, but playing with them was so much fun. And I don't know, it was just a really great tournament. We like played together so well, and it was kind of cool to just play with people I've never like really even gotten to know, and I don't know, we meshed really well. I had a fantastic time that weekend, so loved it.
Cool.
Yeah, it was a good tournament.
Well, I mean, you still have Sin City. You've got all of 2018 Elite, and I'm sure you've got many more dodgeball tournaments to go. So I'm sure there'll be much more to come from that.
Yeah.
In terms of great experiences. Cool. Well, that's all I really got. So I don't want to take up much more of your time. Definitely want to thank you for giving me about hour, 20 minutes of your evening. So that's much appreciated.
This was fun.
Alrighty, well, that was Paige Peterson out of Chicago. Paige, thank you so much for hopping on and allowing me to reschedule on you. When I was sick, I was definitely not talkable, so appreciate that. Had a great time. Look forward to having you on the podcast again in the near future. As far as the rest of the episode goes, I know I sound like a broken record when I say back in the day, or refer to how things used to be, but I guess that's one of the overarching themes of this podcast, at least for the first couple episodes. So with that qualifier kind of out of the way, I just want to say how incredibly impressive it is to have women's divisions packed full of fierce and competitive players such as Paige, players that are doing every sort of variation of dodgeball and are even playing pinch. I find that incredible. Why? Because back in the day, in order to meet the co-ed requirement, teams would pull from their girlfriends to their relatives just so they can have a body, and a female player that wanted to be there was a rarity. There's a lot of tournaments where they were co-ed required. You had to have at least 2 females, and I mean, it was that or you don't play. And so being able to exist in a dodgeball world where that's not an issue anymore is phenomenal. So from being dragged onto the court unwillingly or as a favor to being used only as a retriever of balls to standing shoulder to shoulder with their comrades, the evolution of co-ed dodgeball has come a long way, and I think it's one of the greater assets of this game. Maybe wrong, maybe right, but that's just an opinion. Because where else can men and women play alongside each other with equal impact to the team's outcome? Kind of talked about it a little bit during the podcast, and I was definitely trying not to make it about gender or the whole co-ed aspect, but I just think it's one of those things that may be overlooked with dodgeball as a whole, and I think that could be a great appeal to those that don't play and those that aren't familiar with Elite and UDC and all that good stuff. So anyway, if you have any opinions, questions, comments, you know how to find me, you know how to get a hold of me, you know where to leave your feedback. So that being said, have a great Friday evening, and I'll catch you next time. Nice. I like that one. Straight to the point. Less about me, more about them. Tight.